But is the screen up good? Can you see it?
Screen is up good.
Okay, great. Welcome everybody. We are at the Las Vegas Open 2017 November Backgammon tournament run by the USBGF and ABT and Howard Markowitz and Troy and a lot of great people. And today we're giving a lecture. And the lecture, as you can see, is about how to know when you're too good to double. I want to thank P40 Board Company for being one of our sponsors and supplying some prizes and helping pay for the expenses for these lectures that we give at tournaments around the world. And also Larry Schiller, the voice of Backgammon, and who's doing a tremendous job promoting this game and making people see matches and hear commentary that they weren't getting before. And Larry, I just, what you're doing for the game, I appreciate it. I'm proud to have you as a sponsor. And Larry is streaming and recording this, and then we'll put up a copy on YouTube for all to see. So today, I'm happy to say my name is Phil SImborg of the Backgammon Learning Center, where we have 21 teaching professionals teaching. Click on, left click on the.
I did.
There you go. Click it again. So today I'm happy to have with me John O'Hagan. Is one of our great teachers from the very beginning. He's taught me a tremendous amount. He's currently ranked number 3 in the world on the BMAB, behind Mochi and Victor Ashkenazi. He's always been one of the top giants. You can see his credentials. He's going to be taking over the more technical aspects of this this discussion later. John? And then there's me. I'm John's friend, and I'll do my best. And look, this guy's going to be helping us, sitting right here. Needs no introduction for most of you. Paul Magriel, who's also one of our teachers at the Backgammon Learning Center for our more advanced students, and I think he's teaching me more than he's teaching my students. So I'm learning, continue to learn a tremendous amount. And Paul's going to add his comments and thoughts about too good to double. So let's get into the idea of too good to double. Before we can understand when you're too good to double or not, we need to understand the ratio or the meaning of what a gammon value is. How do you know if you're too good to double if you can't compare the value of winning the gammon to the value of continuing and trying to just win the game? So we're going to first, that's going to be my job, is to explain to you how I teach the idea of a gammon value. John? The gammon value is defined as the amount of equity you gain by winning a gammon divided the amount of equity you gain by winning the game. It's a simple formula. I'll show you. Nothing to it, just memorize that. And that's all there is to this game. John gives me formulas that are, I made this one up, of course, it means nothing. But the whole concept of gammon value is just an amazing thing to me, because I played this game for 20 years for what I consider to be pretty big money back in the 70s and 80s without ever taking a lesson and reading a book, and didn't have a clue what the gammon value was, and thank God the people I was playing didn't either. So I thought a gammon, you win, if a cube, you turn the cube to 2, you win a gammon, you win 2 points. You win the game, you win 2 points. That looked like they were even to me. It's not true at all. Let's go on. And it really made me play horribly well. If you win a game, you win 2 points. If you win a gammon, you win 2 points. Or if you lose a gammon, either way, you lose 2 points. So if you win a game, you win 2 points. But if you lose the game with the cube on 2, you lose 2 points. The difference is 4 points. What people don't understand in a money game is when the cube is on 2, you're really playing for 4. It's like a poker bet. I put $2 in the pot, you put $2 in the pot. Whoever wins the pot is $4 richer. So when the cube is on 2 and you're playing for money, the difference of winning and losing is not 2 points. It's 4 points. If you start with $10 and you win, you have $12. If you lose, you have $8. So the value of a game is always twice as much. And the same thing's true in a match. If I'm playing a match to 21 or to 7 or whatever, if I lose 2 points or win 2 points, I'm 4 points worse off. Now in terms of equity, that's different in a match, because it's not about money, it's about how many points you win and your chances of winning the match. And we'll get into that in a second. But it's still a lot different from winning and losing 2 points. It's the swing that matters. That tells you what the value is of winning the game. Okay? If you win a gammon, you win 2 points. So winning a gammon, if I won that first game and I started with $10 and I win 2 points, I have $12. If I win a gammon, I have $14. The gammon only got me 2 more points. half as much as winning the game. So if I divide the value that I got for winning a gammon, which is 2, by the value that I got by winning a game, 2 divided by 4, it's 0.5. And if you look at Extreme Gammon, which everybody who's serious about the game should have listed him as another one of our sponsors, by the way, you'll see that the gammon value in a money game, and at most match scores, that you're not close to the end, is about half, or about 0.5. The day that I learned that, I'll tell you, I know what day it was. I found out, I thought I was a great backgammon player. I was playing in my real estate company with my brother and a bunch of people for pretty big money. And then one day I went to a bridge tournament and Kit Woolsey was on the side, and I took my first lesson from Kit Woolsey 35 years ago, and the first thing he taught me was Woolsey's Law, and the second thing he taught me was gammon values. And that day on, I realized that when I was winning a game, I was throwing away way too many games by trying to get gammons when I shouldn't. It wasn't worth it. Gammons were only half as much. I didn't know that. And when I was losing way too many games because I was afraid to try to win, because I was afraid I'd get gammoned too much, and I wouldn't take a chance on winning, because I didn't realize that I could afford to lose twice as many gammons as the number of games I might lose to make those checker plays. And the same mistake I made on all my cube action. I would double way too soon, and I would drop way too much because I overvalued gammons. So it's critical to know gammon value, and on our subject today, how in the world can you possibly know if you're too good to double if you haven't got some concept of what a gammon is worth? Because in a match, as we know, a gammon might be worth nothing, or it could be worth as much as winning or losing the game at certain scores, and usually it's somewhere in between. So the first thing I do at any match, at every single game, before the game starts, I say to myself, what's the score? What's the gammon value at this score? What's the take point at this score for myself and my opponent? And then basically, what's my general approach to checker play? And that's before the opening roll. And if you do that every single time, before you know it, you're sitting there and it's 4 away, 5 away, 5 away, 5 away, whatever it is, click. Automatically I know if I'm going to split my back checkers or slot. Automatically I know if I'm going to double on the third roll or fourth roll real quick, if I got more gammons, or if I'm going to drop faster. All these things apply, and then of course, the hardest thing that we're going to discuss today is later on in the game, after I've got the cube, or maybe it's in the center and I'm trying to think if I'm too good to double or not, I already know what the gammon value is and its take point is, and that helps me make the evaluation. So this has to be ingrained in your mind. Let's go on. So that's how it applies to money. Go ahead, John. So in a money game, winning a gammon is only half as valuable. Keep going. We've talked about this. And losing, it's the same thing. The cost of your loss of losing a gammon is only half as bad. And that helps me do something that John taught me a long time ago, how to do a gammon adjusted take point. I know that in a money game and at most match scores, I need about 21.5 to take the cube in most kinds of positions. But then I add to that number the value of the number of gammons I think I might lose, minus the number of gammons I might win from my opponent, and I multiply that times whatever the number is for the gammon value, and I say to myself, okay, so now I got to win 29%. Now, how do I know when I'm looking at the board how often I'm going to win? That's practice, estimation, and we can have some good reference positions for each type of position. But the same thing applies when you want to know if you're too good to double. You need to find an adjustment for your opponent to see, does he have enough gammons to take or not? Because the very first thing you decide is whether your opponent can take or not if you give the cube. John? So, again, I explained how it affects your checker play as well as your cube play. Go ahead. Now, here's an example for match play. I took a simple score in match play, go ahead, to show you how we apply it to match play. The difference is that instead of looking at the points that you win versus the points that you lose and the points that you get or lose for a gammon, we're looking at how it changes your equity or your match winning chances. So in money, it's all about points. You either win or lose 2 points or 4 points, and you can do the math. In a match, winning a gammon might make you an 80% favorite, while winning a game might only make you a 40% favorite, depends on the score. So that we do the same formula, though. We divide what you win by getting a gammon by what you win in the difference of winning or losing the game, and that gives you your gammon value. The good news is, you don't have to do this while you're playing. You need to understand the theory behind it, you can easily memorize gammon values with some tricks that we teach and some basic rules of thumb that says at this kind of level, your gammon value is always 0.1 or 1.0. At this level, it's almost always around 0.7, and if it does this, so we can help you very easily. There's charts and great books. I think, Paul, you wrote a book or two once, didn't you? On backgammon?
Yeah.
That explains gammon value, and there's easy ways to learn that. That's not hard to do, and if you're going to play tournament backgammon and play match play, you need to do this, because if you have to do the brain damage over the board every time you're playing to try and calculate the gammon value and the take point, you're going to go nuts. By the third roll, your head's going to be aching. It's just too much to do. So let's memorize the easy stuff first. Let's go on. So. I define equity. It's the same as match winning chances. If you have 70% equity in the match, that means you're going to win the match 70% of the time. Everything assumes you're playing an equal player. Like I just played John O'Hagan before many of you came. He and I were not quite equal. I ended up losing $4, which I'm not going to pay you. You had to sue me to collect because I think it was a demonstration. Yeah, right. You didn't take it seriously, did you? So we played a game called Challenge Gammon, and he beat the hell out of me because we're not equal players. And as a result, excuse me. Excuse me. Okay, so let's go on. So here's 3-away, 3-away. Very common score, very simple score. How do we calculate gammon value with 3-away, 3-away? If the cube is on 2 and you win the game, you're winning 1-away, 3-away Crawford. The only way your opponent can win the game is to win the match is to win 2 games in a row. Even if he gammons you, that he only wins 2 points, he still has to win 2 games in a row. So his chances of winning are 1 out of 4. The 50-50 to win 1 game and 25% to win 2 in a row. So if you win this game, your value or your equity is 75%. You're going to win the match 75% if you're equal players. John? Okay, let's go on. What happens if you lose the game? You're the guy that's 25% away. So the value of winning that game is the difference between the two, John, or 50%. The difference between, if I win the game, I'm going to win the match 75% of the time. If I lose the game with the cube on 2, I'm going to win the match 25% of the time. So my value of winning that game is 50%. Does everybody see that? Does anybody question that? Now you know how important it is to win a game at 3-away, 3-away after the cube's been turned to 2. You're going to be 50% better off if you win than if you lose, as far as your chances of winning the match. Let's go on with what happens if you win a gammon or lose a gammon. Let's go ahead. Left click.
I am.
The cursor has to be on the screen. Move the cursor around sideways until you see the cursor on the screen, and then left click.
Oh, there it is.
Okay. There we go. Keep going. Okay, so what happens if you win a gammon with the cube on 2? What's your equity? The match is over. You're 100%. So if you win a gammon, you're 100%. If you win the game, you are at 75%. Winning a gammon got you 25% more than if you didn't win a gammon, if you just won the game. One of the biggest fallacies is people compare winning a gammon to losing a gammon. That's not what you're comparing it to. When you're ahead, you're either going to win the game or win a gammon, is what you're looking at. And the difference between those two is, at this score with the cube on 2, is 25%. So obviously, if a gammon is worth 25% to you, and winning the game is worth 50% to you, the gammon value is 0.5. It's the same as a money game in this particular score. And the same thing's true for your gammon cost or price. And I can't tell you how many people get that mixed up. When Extreme Gammon first came out, Xavier had it backwards. He had gammon price per gammon value. We corrected that. Neil Kazaros and Mochi and I do all the beta testing for Extreme Gammon, and we had to correct that. Even Xavier, who's brilliant, plays well, and knows the game, gets it backwards, and most of us do too. The gammon price is what it costs you to lose a gammon. Same thing here. If you lose the game, it costs you 50%. If you lose a gammon, you have, by the way, you're at 25% equity. If you lost a gammon, you're at 0 equity, so it still costs you 25%. So the value of winning or losing a gammon is 0.5. So now we understand that you take the value of the gammons compared to the value of winning and losing the game to see what a gammon is worth. How can you possibly, getting back to our main subject that we're going to get into next, How can you know if you're ever too good to double if you don't know if a gammon's very valuable or not valuable at all or somewhere in between? That's going to be a major factor. Just about every position that you can see that's too good to double at a certain score may well not be too good to double at another score, might even be a take at another score. So you have to know gammon value. Let's go on. 0.5 is the gammon value at this score with the cube on 2. Okay? Here is the biggest myth. In fact, Paul Magriel and I were talking earlier this morning about this, and he said the same thing to me before he even saw this slideshow. The biggest myth that people have about too good to double. Let's see what the biggest myth is. If the gammon value is 0.5, you need to win twice as many gammons as the games you might lose to be too good to double. In theory, that might sound good, but it's a total myth, and I'll show you why it's a total myth. Let's take a look at this position. This is fake news, by the way. That's what you're laughing at? Okay. Let's go on, John. Here's a position where red is on roll, and he only wins gammons about 3%, but he loses the game close to 3%, and it's too good to double. And when I first saw this, I guess it was 20, 25 years ago, I'm not sure what, I picked up the phone and I called John. I said, John, explain this to me, and now I'm going to shut up and let John explain it to you. Why can this be too good to double? Any questions, by the way, on the gammon value or anything else? I'm that good a teacher? You're that good an audience, I'm sorry, I meant it that way.
All right, so anytime you can always redouble the opponent out after any sequence, it's always too good. Okay? So here, no matter what you roll followed by what blue rolls, you can always at least cash the game. Okay? So therefore, the ratio of gammons divided by losses, even though it's way below 2 to 1, doesn't matter. Okay?
Another way to say it is the opponent doesn't have a market gainer. There's nothing that can happen in your roll and his roll where he can gain enough to where he would have a take. So if he's passing anyway, what the hell have you got to lose by playing on another roll? Maybe red will roll double sixes here and he'll dance. Then you roll another double sixes and he dances. Now, most of the time that's not what happened. Most of the time you'll open up, he comes in, and then you can still double him out. You don't get your gammon. So you got nothing to lose. It's like marrying a 99-year-old millionaire who's got cancer. You know? Maybe that's not the best analogy. Let me think of another one. I'll think of another one.
It's the main idea in
Paul.
gambling and poker is something called a pre-roll. And everybody knows in gambling you like pre-rolls. So it costs you nothing and you win something. And this, because you have access to the cube on the next turn, you can never get to a situation where he gets to a take. So it's totally, even if the chance of ultimately winning a gammon is small, it costs you nothing to try, absolutely zero to try, because you're on a pre-roll, what they call a pre-roll.
A free roll. Paul, you had another term for this other than market gainer. What did you call this?
Well, I mean, I have a different way. I look at what I call ITA, immediate turnaround. And you see how often the game can turn around or it becomes a clear take or worse.
Yeah.
And this is the ITA here is zero. On the next turn, you always think in terms of the next turn, not the next roll. On the next turn, it's impossible for him to get back to a take. So ITA is zero. And when ITA is zero, you don't even have to calculate how many gammons you ultimately get because it's your own free roll.
And Paul also taught me something else this morning, reminded me of something else this morning. One of the biggest mistakes people make, right here, you're too good to double. In one or two rolls, you might roll something where you really could leave some shots, get hit, and lose. So every single roll, stop and reevaluate it. You only have to worry about the next roll. But the next roll, you might not be too good. And so you have to think about it every single roll. Don't just get stuck in the mode that it's too good from now on. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so we're done with our PowerPoint portion of this lesson, and we're going to get into some actual positions, and we're going to test you, and we're going to have some fun with these. And as soon as I can get out of this, we'll do that. Here we go. We're going to look at some actual positions that John and I use in our lessons, and then a couple that came up in the last couple of days that I'm embarrassed to talk about, but I blew one, we're gonna show you that one, and we're gonna show you why this is not always an easy thing to figure out. And also, you're just gonna see why I teach more than I play. Because those who can, do. Those who can't, teach. Oh, I'm sorry, we had the PowerPoint. We had some positions in the PowerPoint first that we're gonna take care of. I'm very sorry about this, I missed something here. It just didn't go down. You're right, John, the slide thing isn't working real well sometimes, but here we go. Slideshow from current slide. Okay, so we have a couple of positions here. Let's assume money game again, or unlimited game, or it would be the same as in a match at 20 away, or whatever. Position on the left, how many think you're too good to double? Or how many would double? Not think, okay, you would double. What about the one on the right? Does anybody think you're too good to double on the right? Or would you cash? Speak up.
Yeah.
You think you're too good? Okay, a couple say cash, some couple say too good. Let's look at the answer. The one on the left is a redouble and a pass. You're not too good. Let's see if I can do this something with the focus. That's as good as it gets. And the one on the right, you're right, it's too good to double. What's the difference, John?
Well, as Paul called it, the ITA is the big problem here. First of all, your gammon chances are very low with only one checker closed up.
It's long shots. So
Yeah,
you don't wanna
and
swim or-
if something bad happens, namely you leave a shot and get hit, you can't cash. You're gonna lose the game most likely. You only have a couple men on, right? So definitely just get the game over, cash the game. Over here, on the other hand, now with two checkers closed out, you should win about 40% gammons. Okay. So how often do you leave a shot here? I have to count up the rolls and see, but it's clearly.
Wait, let's just, can anybody tell us how many times you leave a shot? And Red will leave a shot on this roll?
25%.
Huh?
25.
25%? Anybody else?
10.
How many numbers leave shots? Go through the numbers. Let's see if they can do it, Paul.
Any six.
Any six. That's exactly how you should start. Start with sixes. Every six leaves a shot. How many sixes are there? 11. What else leaves a shot besides the six? Double fives. 12. There are 12 numbers that leave shots. 12 out of 36. 33% of the time you're going to leave a shot. How often will you get hit? 11 times, about 30%. So you leave a shot about 33%, you get hit 11 times, that's 10% of the time you're going to lose this game on the next roll. And you're only going to win gammons about 3% of the time. In order for you to be too good, you need to be winning gammons at least 20%, because gammons are worth half as much on the next roll. In the position on the right, you leave shots the same number of times, you lose just as often, you're going to lose about 10%. How often do you win gammons there? As John said, he's exactly right, it's 40%. So you're getting 2 to 1 on your money. The 40 gammons are worth as much as 20 games, but you're only risking 10 games on the next roll. You're getting 2 to 1 on your money. It's almost like a free roll. Question?
That 40% number, I'd be comfortable with that if he had like 2 more checkers. If Red didn't have 2 off and the extra 2 checkers were on the 5 and the 4, you're saying even in this awkward position, it's still a 40% number?
I'm not saying it. Extreme Gammon is. You can't read it, but it says 40%.
Okay. Well, what would it be?
And by the way, I'm very, very smart when I repeat what Extreme Gammon says.
Another point you're missing, Phil, is even when you do get hit, you don't necessarily lose. Like you might roll 6-1 or 6-2, and they're going to break the board more often than you will.
No, you lose. Oh, I see what you're saying. After you get hit, you don't lose every time, but clearly they have market gainers. You can't double them out.
Yeah, but they're not going to double you back right away.
Well, they don't have the cube. They don't have the cube. You kept the cube.
Sorry.
So it's very hard for them to double you back. Some of my opponents tried.
I mean, it's a theoretical point. It's easy to better the gammon when you own the cube than when it's in the middle. You can see positions.
All right, speak up, Paul. What Paul just said. Go ahead.
It's a minor theoretical point that when you own the cube, it's easier to play for the gammon, because when things begin to go wrong, you're entitled to see the end of the game, whereas if you cubes in the middle, they can get nasty doubles.
Yeah.
So,
To Ted's point, if this was a match to 11 and the cube was in the center, you would be too good. However, if you get hit, he will double you out.
No.
Well, you
Yes.
have the cube.
Well,
No, if it's in the center, I
that's
said.
where you leave the shot. If you leave the shot on the 1 point or the 2 point, you're taking.
You're not leaving a shot on the 1 point or the 2 point with any roll
You
here.
roll a 6-1 or a 6-2.
You're not leaving a shot on the 1. You're saying you should with a 6-1?
Yeah,
Yeah.
How would you play a 6-1?
2 off.
Well,
No,
Yeah,
I thought about that. Both of.
I think you play both off the 6, Ted,
Yep.
I think so.
because repeaters.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
when you get hit, you're dancing until your opponent's able to get.
If you leave a shot on the 6 and he hits you and he has access to the cube, he doubles and you pass.
Exactly.
Okay.
But if you leave a shot on the 1, he has to enter both checkers on the 1.
Yes, but if you leave a shot on the 1, you're going to leave lots of repeaters compared to the 6, so you
No,
can't.
he's gonna break his board, because you're dancing every time.
Actually depends where that spare is, you know.
It's-
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we'll check.
In this case, you know,
If you have
If you don't hit it,
If you don't get hit, you're gonna
don't
roll
get hit,
shot.
then you have like a one shot
Well,
after.
2 and 1
Oh, okay.
That's why you don't make that
I see what
play.
you're saying, I see what you're
That's why you don't make that play.
Yeah.
And that's why you're so good at the mini matches. He's the king of the mini. Ted Chi is the king of the mini matches because there's no damn cue. All right. Let's go on.
But-
Here's the position. This again, we're treating it as a money game. We're 11 away, 11 away. Red is on roll. Would you double, or would you think you're too good to double?
Too good.
Too good.
Everybody's saying too good?
Well,
All right, let me make sure that you all did one thing first. And again, I told you it's the most important lesson I ever had in my life from Kit Woolsey. Use Woolsey's law first. Is he taking or passing is always your first question. And except in really unusual scores, it can't be too good and a take. It can be in some scores, but in a money game that's impossible, or in most scores. So the first thing you should ask yourself is he taking or not? And if you think he might be taking, or you think it might be a take, it can't be too good. You just give the cue.
That's very important.
Very important. That's the first point. So we know blue should drop here. We all agree that. The question is it too good? You're all saying yes?
No.
No. Somebody says it's not too good. You cash.
Count the ITA.
You cash. Okay.
Well, what are the turnaround? That's the first thing you should do.
The turn. Speak up louder. We're
Okay,
being
the first thing you do when you're considering whether to play on per gammon, obviously, you can win some gammons here, right? I mean, there are variations, you close out 2 men, and then you got your, 40% or whatever, 45. But the first thing you should look at here, you know what's a pass, is the immediate turnarounds. Okay, that's the primary thing you think about when you.
Or market gainers. What would get him to take the cube next time?
I call them, immediate turnaround. It's the same thing in different words. And you have to actually go through and count them.
Yeah. The only number I see that's an ITA.
Wait, let's see if they can say. What's Red's bad roll here? Does anybody see a bad roll for Red? 6-1. Alan, that's great. That's it.
Yeah, 6-1, and then blue has to hit, and even then, 30% of the time you're gonna roll a 5. So,
Yeah, so the 6-1 is, remember, the turnaround is not on your roll, it's on the next turn.
yeah.
Okay, so you have to roll the 6-1, and he's gonna hit you. Okay, so right now, that's, 118 times.
And you gotta not roll a 5.
50, and then he may, he may or may not have a, a winning position. And if you come in, or suppose you even don't come in, does he have a good redouble or not? Probably not here, So the turnaround is not just the times you get hit, not just the times you lose the shot, which is 2 out of 36, the times you get hit, which is 1 in 50, but it's even less than that, because you've got to also fan, and then he doesn't have a clear winning position. So really, you're talking about like a 1% thing here, or less than 1%.
Yeah.
It's a real turnaround number.
Yeah.
And for that, you're going to win, I don't know, you don't have to know exactly, but it's going to be much more than, twice 1%.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, everybody got that? Any questions? Okay, now I promise you, when you see this position over the board, and you remember this lecture, and you don't double because you're too good, I promise you're gonna roll a 6-1, get hit and lose, and you're gonna blame Paul and me and John. And the reason, I'm not just saying this as a joke, We all remember the sequences that went bad like this. And that's all we remember at the end of the match. Even though we crushed our opponent and won 15-2, we remember the game where we rolled a 1-6 and he hit us. Because we all remember the pain more than the joy, and we remember the bad rolls. And if you try to learn backgammon that way, I play with people, I thank God I play with people in money games that do play that way. They don't put positions in. I know one of the guys I play with gets hit from a 1-6 from the bar a couple times. He'll never leave a 1-6 from the bar again. And it's right 90% of the time to do it, and he won't do it. It's frustrating when I'm his partner in the box, but I'm thrilled when I'm against him.
And memory is very selective in things like this, you know, and some people just hate that you're robbing them. They have these points in the bank and they can't stand to lose them. There's no calculation how often they lose it compared to how often they win gammon, you know.
Right. By the way, that same person is convinced that his opponent will roll a 2-6 from the bar, because Ray did it to him a couple times and it drove him nuts. So he'll never leave a 2-6 from the bar. So you got to play the odds and you got to put it in. And the odds here are very small, so it's too good to double. That's why it's right to play on. Any questions?
By the way, if anybody plays poker, there's a poker analogy that, you know, the average player gets wrong all the time. Where you have a monster hand and you slow play it, that means you don't make a big bet to force the other guy out, so you can win more money. And of course, occasionally miracle sequences or miracle, and it backfires. And when it backfires, you never hear the end of it, you know. Why didn't you knock the guy out? You could have knocked him out. What are you doing, you know? But you really want to think in the long run, you make more by doing this or this. In the long run, you know, correct slow play. There are a lot of situations where it's automatic slow play, and people refuse to do it because they're paranoid about the times it's backfired, and they don't think in terms of equity in the long run, what's going to win more.
And the way to stop being paranoid is to put a lot of positions into XG, study it, and believe in the god of backgammon, which is the odds. Play the odds, and you're going to come out ahead in the long run. Let's go on. Are we too good here? Red's on roll from the bar. Think about it. Would you play on? Or would you cash? And can you cash?
Like I said, if you can't,
Let's let them answer.
Who's on roll?
Who wants? Red's on roll from the bar. He could possibly roll a 1 and hit, or come in with a 3 or 5, or he could dance.
I would not do double.
You would not redouble. You think it's too good?
No.
You don't think it's good enough?
You're going on to the cube.
You don't think it's good enough? Okay. Any other opinions? So if you were, so what you're saying to me, Brandon, is if you were blue, you would take this cube.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. And I'm not making fun of you because you just won a major tournament and you beat the hell out of me. And by the way, I recorded the match and you played well. So you're a great player, but you're wrong on this one. Let's take a look. This is a big, big pass. That's number one. The risks
but
are
it's an
here.
important point. If even psychologically you think your opponent might take, you always double, okay? You know, or you're on a chouette, you know some people are just seeming they're going to take, you should double.
Yeah,
okay?
this is
Even
another
if
way of
it's
saying if you're
relatively
playing Carter, you should double. Because he's going to take.
good. But again, if it's whenever a take, we're talking about money now, not tournaments, which are weird. Whenever it's a, you know, whenever it's possibly a take, you know, a take, it's practically never too good. It's only things that are clear passes, and the game can't turn around. Basically, this niche thing. When-
So why isn't this too good to double if it's such a huge pass, John?
Well, you have your 9 dancing numbers, after which
And how many hitting
blues.
numbers? You want to not hitting.
Yeah, yeah, so it's just not that great. And you have a lot of other numbers that enter that don't hit. And some of them, like 3, 4, you have to waste a builder, you know, and you're leaving your back eye exposed there, somewhat on the 22 point. And if everything goes perfectly and you close out 3 men, you're an overwhelming favorite to win again. But, you know, that's the
You
perfect
close out
sequence.
2.
Close out 2,
you can
you're
still-
a favorite,
You're
but
a
not
good favorite,
overwhelming.
right? No, pretty good favorite.
Yeah.
Over 16.
Yeah.
So does everybody see why this is not too good to double? Look at the, you know, I always look at it this way. If you look at the glass as half full, you'll see lots of wins and gammons here if you come in and hit. But the glass is also half empty. So every single play you look at, you have to look at upside and downside, risk, reward. Here, the risks are huge when you don't hit.
You only have 9 hits. Okay?
11 hits, 11 ones, plus you have some 3s and 5
yeah,
combinations.
I'm sorry.
Well, not 6-1 though. 6-1 doesn't hit.
you come in with an ace.
Oh, I'm
It
sorry.
does hit.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And double threes, five, and double three, you have
Yeah,
15 hits.
Paul,
About
Paul,
he has
and John, there's 32 possible rolls of the dice.
Right, that's it, right.
Okay? All right, you got it. Okay.
And,
And the hit doesn't guarantee a win, because
Right.
you can roll a
You
three.
can hit, he rolls a 3, or he could roll a 3 and hit back also.
Yeah.
So here's the reason this is not too good, is because while you can have a huge gain if you come in with an ace, or if you come in with a 3-3 or a 5-3, or and hit him and he dances, yeah, then you're gonna be too good. But all the sequences where that doesn't happen, which is the majority of the rolls, he could easily he could beat you in this game, and you could easily lose the game. So cash is the answer.
And in a lot of positions, say for example, you are attacking your opponent. And say you have a 5-point board and the opponent has one checker maybe on your ace point, you've got a couple of builders. You clearly can play on, because then a bad sequence for you is when you don't hit and the opponent anchors, and then you can just cash the game, okay? So the bad sequences in that kind of position I just mentioned are not bad for you. Here, the bad sequences are bad, because you
You have
dance.
to figure out how bad,
How bad.
quantify how bad, I mean, if you really want. I mean, for example, if you dance, he doesn't have an immediate redouble.
Right.
Not even close to it, you know.
Right.
One of the reasons in the past is because when things go bad, when you go ahead and race and the 5 points open and you're board.
Right.
If that was the case, you know, it might even be a take, but it's, the reason it's not a take is because the bad sequences are generally not terrible,
Yep,
but they're bad enough to keep it from being too good.
true.
But that
Okay.
requires thinking and quantifying, if you wanna really know, you know.
Okay, here's a lovely position. This is my favorite, because I love playing back games. And actually, these positions come up in Pasco Gammon all the time, our deep back game play. You're red, you're on roll. Blue just rolled a horrible roll, and now you can hit him with a 3, 4, or a 5. What's the cube action here? Are you too good to double? Not good enough? Or should you play on for a gammon?
Double take.
Double take?
Too good.
Too good?
Too good double and take.
Double take?
Double take.
Okay, so once you assume it's a take, for sure you're not too good in a money game. Yes?
I think it's difficult to say because we don't know the score, so.
No, this is a money game.
Money,
Or 11 away, 11 away. Yeah, we're assuming, making that assumption to keep it easy. Blake,
I don't think any people are going to take. Most people are going to take.
you don't
Well-
think most will take?
Yeah, well, most people. I mean, I'm not saying good people
Uh-huh.
won't take, but I think a lot of people.
Well,
This is not a take.
there are 27 numbers that hit. Does everybody know that?
Yeah.
If you can hit with 3 numbers, that's 27 numbers that hit. That's 75% of the time.
yeah, but it's a swing, one, and a lot
Yeah.
of people won't really will see the
And when you
27
hit-
numbers and be
When
scared.
you hit, you can win gammon sometimes, right? Because you can pick up a second checker. So, all right, we've heard all our answers. Let me show you what the real answer is. First of all, several of you said this was a take. It's a huge pass, because again, 75% of the time you're gonna get hit, and many of those times they'll pick up a second checker and gammon you too. So it's a big pass, you have to start there. If you think it's a take, you should go ahead and redouble. And by the way, you're right to redouble even if you were wrong about it being a take. Because Woolsey's law says, if you're not sure whether it's a take or pass, or if you think it's a pass, go ahead and redouble. So you got that part right. If you're sitting on the other side, you get it wrong. But some people will think this is too good to double. Why isn't it too good to double? John?
Well, number one, you miss a quarter of the time, after which black has a pretty reasonable chance of the gammon.
well, that's a question, an interesting question with it. Black plays on per gammon when we miss. I mean, I've seen positions with 27 number shots where they're easy takes because you have a play on one, I guess. I don't think you have a play on that,
Well, I mean, red owns the cube here, so.
but, yeah.
But if you give him the cube,
Oh, I'm
So
sorry,
you give them the cube and miss.
yeah.
or if the cube is in the
A
center,
lot of these 27 number shot things, clear takes because they can play on.
but John's right about this position. If you hold the cube, he is playing on because he has to.
Because he
And you're
has
gonna
to-
get gammoned a bunch.
Right.
Yeah, right.
You're not only gonna lose a lot, you're gonna get gammoned a bunch when you miss.
Yeah,
But you're gonna still win later games too. I mean,
Yeah,
I
that's
mean, you
true.
give away the cube and you miss, he can double you out, okay, clearly. When you own the cube, you're entitled to win the 27 times now, plus quite a few more later. I mean, you probably pay to get a double shot later, so
Right.
that's, you know, that's,
Did you say that
you're
it's-
pretty good,
it's
you know, you
okay?
become, from that
No,
point,
no.
but also when he
No.
hits, even if he comes in, you can probably play it.
Yeah.
And, if you're giving away the cube, you can't, so you
Right.
have some tail variation.
Okay, let's go on. We're getting a little more complicated here. Red is on roll, money game, holding the cube, and the question is, cube action. Give it some thought. Money game. Oh, I'm sorry, this is four-way, four-way. This is a score, I'm sorry. Does anybody know what the gammon value is with the cube on two at four-way, four-way? One! Dave Kettler knows this. If you win gammon, you win the match. So it's really big to win 4 points. Now the swing, you win 2 points, lose 2 points, but winning the gammon makes you 100%. So here, you value gammons twice as much as you would in a money game. With that in mind, maybe you're too good, I don't know. What do you think?
I think you're too good.
You think you're too good, Ted?
Yeah. You can always double later.
By the way, the rest of you may as well stop because Ted's usually right 1 out of 5 times, and the last 4 times he was wrong. So it's gotta be.
Look up the position I told you with a 6-1 and 6-2 and you'll see that.
All right, we'll look them up. Any other opinions?
What do you say, too good?
It is too good by quite a bit, almost a blunder to double here. And what I did also was pull up the chart from Extreme Gammon showing you the gammon value is 0.98, which is effectively 1. John?
Yeah, so because the gammon value is almost 1.0, that gives you extra reasons to play on for the gammon here. And notice that your gammons, your net gammons are 39 minus 7 is 32, and you lose 32. So it's 1 to 1. And the fact that in the future, in many sequences, you'll be able to use the cube to your advantage by doubling the opponent in or out, you should just play on for now. And you just hope that you roll a 3 or 9, or maybe a low double and switch, and just keep playing on for the game.
Or that you hope that he doesn't roll a 4 on the
He
next
doesn't
roll.
enter, right.
Yeah, so he doesn't enter. So, yes, you're going to be very, very sorry if you hold the cube here and you don't hit him and he rolls a 4.
Yeah, and also, let's say that you roll some non-hitting number
What percentage?
and blue rolls a 4. Okay, well,
What
The
percentage
fact-
you win?
Paul, come here.
and his take point on a 4 cube is going to be 33%, which is pretty high. So owning the cube
32%.
is worth more to you at this score than is in an ordinary money game.
I'm sorry, the numbers are a little blurry there. Paul wanted to get the exact numbers.
That, I mean, see, I think it's important at this score.
Don't touch the screen.
Sorry. As I call these positions gammon go positions, where the gammon price, the gammon price is 1. And I don't have to figure out the exact numbers. All I know is that if a good percentage of your wins are gammons, then it's always too good. I mean, too good, not good enough. Because if you double, then you can take and win more matches that way. So you really, whenever you have these situations, I always look at where the gammon, what I call gammon go situations.
And also, if you do redouble here, your gammons become worthless.
That's right.
Right.
Kill your gammon.
And blue will win more often because blue doesn't have to worry about getting the gammon. So he will just stay back there forever and build up his board and hope for a shot.
Very good. Any questions? Everybody get the idea? Now, by the way, I didn't have to stop and calculate gammons for 1.0 because before this game started, I know, hey, 4-away, cube gets turned, the gammon value is 1. I'm going to double faster at this score if it looks like there's some gammons involved. I'm going to take less at this score if I'm getting doubled and there's more gammons. It's all ingrained in my mind from the very beginning because I know the gammon value. So that's that important. All right, now we're done with the PowerPoint. We'll go into a little bit more complex situations where we can use Extreme Gammon. Sorry for the glitch in the previous. You got the #1 teacher in the world and the #3 player in the world, and also a great teacher. If you think of any other questions or anybody has anything to ask, now's a great time to get some incredible free advice.
I just want to elaborate on something that Phil said that I think is extremely important in match strategy. Is before the game begins, you should know. If you call it gammon prize, you should know how important gammons are, because sometimes they're unbelievably important, sometimes they're almost not important at all. And before the game begins, you should go, because that affects the checker plays and the cube quite a bit. And it's important not to try and figure this out in the middle of the game when you get to a complicated position. I insist all my students absolutely look away from the board, look at the score, and know these things before the game begins.
And I'm a genius because I learned this from Paul, and I pretend I made it up. Okay, so we have a red on roll. This is a match, 11 away, 11 away. And by the way, if you don't use away score, you're not really playing match backgammon. It doesn't matter that you've got 3 to 3 as the score. What matters is how many points you each need. So get in the habit. I've even made a scorecard that shows the away score, and I think that's how backgammon should be scored, away score at all times. So you both need 11 points to win the match. Red is on roll. Should red play on for the gammon, or should he double? Give it some thought. Anybody?
Double.
Double.
So,
Double pass, says Mr. Viator.
It's not a double.
Not a double. Why? Not good enough, or is it too good?
No, this game could easily, he could break his board and you should go down to the cube, you should be happy. Oh,
not good enough.
Okay, so you're saying
I'm not doubling.
you're not doubling because you were going to win too many gammons because you're too good?
No.
Oh, because you're not good enough?
Not good enough.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to make a very important point, is you have different, what I call equity zones. You have not good enough, double take, double pass, and too good. Not good enough and too good are the opposite ends of the equity thing. It can't be, in certain match scores it can, but for money on the long matches, it can't be either, it can't be a little bit of both, which a lot of times people get confused. They say it's a little bit, can't be that way. They're completely opposite things. So you have to, if you think it's not good enough, that means that the guy's definitely taking it. And, or close to a take, whatever, then it can't be too good.
So what you're saying is you think if you were red,
Blue, if you were blue,
if you
you'd
were
take.
blue and you were doubled, you would take.
Of course.
You don't think you're going to get gammoned a whole bunch here if he rolls a 4?
Now, if he goes the 4, then he still has to, 4-1, 4-2, 4-3, he still has to.
Okay, and then you still have to hit him, you still got 2 checkers on the bar, and you got to still win. So that's, the point here is, it is a pass.
After you crack up.
It is a pass, because the gammon risk is way too great for blue. Where was the original position? I moved it.
3 checkers on the board.
3 checkers on the board.
Okay, so let's hit the button. And this is a huge pass. And mainly, I understand why you think it might be a take, because you do win the game 30% of the time. But let's not forget how often you win gammons. You're close to 40% gammons. That's what makes it a big pass. Because even if you don't roll the 4 and he breaks the 6 point, you still got to come in and you still got 2 or 3 more rolls to roll that 4. You're probably going to lose this game too much with this many gammons. But why is it not too good? John?
Well, as Paul calls it, the ITA, the turnarounds
Actually,
are really bad.
Numbers.
Okay?
Yeah.
So if you roll a 6-5, 6-3, 6-2, and he rolls a 6, you don't even have anything close to a redouble. You're a big underdog now in the game. If you roll double 3s, you have to tear down 2 points in your board. Doesn't leave a shot, but that's really bad for you. If you back-to-back don't roll a 4, you're going to give up your 6 point the first time, and you might have to block by legal blocking your 5 point the next time, depending on the number.
1.253 set you up, it's not
Yeah,
legal,
yeah.
but.
Yeah.
And,
So the bad sequences are really bad for you, and there's enough of them that you just need to cash the game right now.
Now, the reason you were afraid to double here, and the reason that you would take here, the reason you're afraid to double is you're afraid you're going to roll those bad rolls, right? You won't roll them if you double any passes. That's the point. When you have some bad rolls, it's by doubling you eliminate that risk because he should drop. Now, if he does take, let's say he makes a mistake and takes this cube, you should be thrilled because he's making a 0.28 error, and in the long run, that's where you're really going to come out ahead.
So it's a big take on a double match point?
Pardon me?
It's a big take on a double match point?
Well, you mean if it's
Two away,
like
two away?
two-way?
Two away, it's a drop because your take point's 32%.
Right.
So at that point, gammons don't matter.
Right.
At two-way, the only thing you think about is, do I win 32% or more? That's all that matters, because that's your equity if you pass, your chances of winning the match if you pass.
And also, Bowman, the reason it's a pass here, and this is a good way in money games and normal match scores like this, to figure out what your true take point is when there are gammons involved. It goes like this: you start with 25% plus half of the net gammons, and then whatever that figure is, you subtract about 1/7 of that for cube big. So the net gammons here are about 38 minus 3 is 35. Half of that is 17.5 plus 25 is 42.5 minus 1/7 brings down. So you need to win the game cubelessly about 36%. You only win it about 30%.
Everybody got that? Now, the first time that John explained something like that to me, I recorded it. I was in a car with Matt Cohn-Geyer, who was at the time not well known, but still one of the best players in the world. I played the recording. We had to pull over to the side of the road because we were both laughing so hard trying to figure out what John said.
Well, you know, think of it in a straight race where there are no gammons. Use that same formula. 25% plus 0 for the gammons, minus 1/7 is about 21.5.
Right.
So
that's the difference between me and John. Aside from being smart and dumb, the other difference is he starts with 25 and subtracts 1/7. I start with the live cube take point of 21.5, or in a match at 5 away, it's 20. I use whatever the live cube, so I don't have to subtract cube big, because I can't remember whether it's 1/7. At some scores, it's not 1/7. Some scores, it's totally different. So you and I both did the test on this, and we found out that we were always within 1%.
And also, to Boland's point, something I have noticed happens to me and happens to probably all of us is the following. You're playing a match and you run into a series of races or holding games where you know you need 25%, maybe a little bit less to take. And so you sort of get in the habit of doing that. And then a position like this comes up and you say, yeah, I can win at 25%, I take. And you just forget to add in the gammon factor.
Yeah, so, I just want to make another little point about all these positions. We're talking about the numbers. Well, I don't think an actual position is any substitute for going through the numbers and seeing how often you break your board and how often you break your board leaving the shop. I mean, you gotta get down and dirty and calculate these things out of 36. I mean, that's how I have to do it. I can't just sort of know these numbers. I get down and dirty and calculate the bad and the very bad variations.
Yeah.
Now I'll tell you why, after 4 or 5 years of lessons, I was still a terrible player for a person who was getting that great coaching and teaching. I heard the same thing Paul said from my teachers. My main teacher was Perry, who's a protege of Paul. Learn from Paul. But Perry will tell you, and I consider Perry to be a great teacher. But when I heard that you got to get down and dirty and do these numbers, I heard them, I believed them, but I didn't do it. Why? Because I said, I'm never going to have time to do this over the board. The game's not fun that way, and I'll never be able to keep that all in my head. So I didn't do it. What I failed to recognize, and what Paul, if I can make a recommendation, what you need to add is, when you get down and dirty and do the numbers, it takes a long time, but if you do that in practice, by the time you get over the board, it comes like that. You don't have to do every detail. John could look at this and Paul could look at this in 10 seconds and know about how many gammons there are and whether or not and why this is not too good to double and why this is a pass, because they got down and dirty with the numbers before. So we're not saying that you should play backgammon. You should play backgammon and take 45 minutes to make every move. We're saying you should take 45 minutes to analyze the move at home so that you can do it in 10 seconds over the board.
Well,
that's
one
the
thing
key.
everybody's got to practice is counting. It's simple counting, and I have millions of exercises.
Right, I won 3 matches yesterday.
Yeah, you just learn to count the number of shots that hit, the number of shots that break, the number of shots that do this, that.
Oh, that.
So out of 36.
I just count my wins and losses.
No, I mean, I don't know whether they're winning or losing, but you learn to count different things out of 36, fairly quickly, and that takes some practice sometimes, so you got to count how many breaks you have and how many breaks you have that leave a shot,
Well, the first lesson I give every single student, and I'm looking around the room, there's several of my students and ex-students here. The very first lesson, we check to see how well you can count. Then I send a PowerPoint called the Odds PowerPoint. You've seen the Odds PowerPoint? teaches you how to count shots quickly and how to do it quickly. How many people know this chart? 11, 12, 14, 15, 15, 17, 6, 6, 5, 3, 2, 3. That's your odds of hitting a checker. 1 away, 2 away, 3 away, 4, and so on. Right there, in my memory, I see two numbers, I can put those two together, instantly know the number of shots. There's a whole bunch of shortcuts, and if you learn those, your game will be faster, easier, more accurate, and it's more fun, because you can do it very quickly, and you're going to get the right answer more often. You're going to be able to kill people like John O'Hagan, like I just did earlier. Well, wait a minute, you won, didn't you? Never mind.
Mark, did
You
you
won't
have
be
a
that
question?
good.
Yeah,
Mark has a question.
Yes.
I think if you put that spare checker on the 1 point, on the 6 point, then it might be too good there.
That's a good point. You have more, what a beautiful, congratulations.
Yeah, it spares or affects the number of
Very
cracks you
good.
have, and that's it. It's really critical in these kind of positions.
Now you have more time to roll a 4 without cracking. Very, very good observation. God, I wish I'd thought of that. You're smarter than you look. Somebody else have a comment, John?
One question. I want to see, for the play of 4-2, how far apart the XG would rate coming out 22 to 18 and 6-4 as opposed to breaking the 6 point. I want to see
I
how.
promise you break the 6 point.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not close.
It's not close.
Yeah.
You break the, you gotta come out with the 4. There it is. It's not close. Well, that's what I meant to say. That's what I'm saying. You break the 6 point and leave a block. I didn't say you cleared the 6 point. That's what I'm serious. I got this right.
No,
I would have said you clear the 6 point if the other player's right.
Differential was.
Yeah. Oh, it's big. It's big. You have to get that 4. You're dreaming of a 4.
Yes.
You got to take that 4.
Yeah.
When the girl of your dream comes along, you propose. You take it. Okay. Let's go on. That's number 1. Okay. I'm giving a prize for the person who gets this one right, but you have to raise your hand. And I'll recognize a hand raise. Are you too good or not? This is red on roll. I'll see a hand.
Sorry, what's the question?
The question is, red is on roll. Should he redouble or should he play on for the gammon? And this is a money game. He's holding a 2 cube. I see Larry Schiller's hand first. What do you say?
Double.
You say double. You don't think it's too good.
I say
10.
play on.
Huh?
I say play on.
10 plays on. All right, we have two opposite. One of you is going to get the prize.
I mean, you win so few games.
I redouble.
Yeah, you went.
You win so few games.
Also the time you know you're here.
I redouble.
It's too good to double. It's too good to double. And 10, you get Backgammon for Losers by my good friend and my student Simon Hill. A wonderful, wonderful book. And there's a lot of great information in here. And you should get this because you're a
Shouldn't I
winner.
get it because I got it wrong?
You got it wrong. You know what? You know what? You deserve it more. Ted, I'm giving you a $50 gift certificate to P40. We're going to give him Backgammon for Losers. Good point, Larry. Why is this too good, John?
Okay, the reason has to do with the bad sequences. How bad are they for you? And the
They're
answer is they're not that
Because you're
bad.
3 men off.
Okay, so let's just say you roll one of your worst number, 6-1 or 5-1. Okay. With you and blue hits, other than with like 6-6 or something, you are then about a 70-30 favorite anyway.
Anyways.
Okay, and with some of your like doubles, 6s and stuff, you're taking off 4 extra men, you're an even
Bigger.
larger
Double.
player. So,
The 3 big
so
doubles.
you basically, can play on, because the bad sequences aren't that bad.
Well, I
What
know
are your chances of getting a gammon?
5%.
5% instead of the.
But they can go to 15 or 20% very quickly if he keeps dancing. And you weigh that against the risk on the next roll of him having a take. That's the market gainer, or ITA. So that's where it's so small. But I certainly don't blame Larry for getting this wrong. Most players will, almost everyone. That's why I put it up there. I did this specifically to fool Larry, because I love fooling Larry.
It's not hard though.
You're being modest. I've heard your commentary.
So
You're
3
great.
men off on the ace point, it wouldn't be.
So if you don't have the men off, you're saying you wouldn't be too good? Paul brought this up. Let's say you took the same
It's
position.
interesting to find out all, and then the
you're
problems
right.
I like to find the borderline cases,
Yeah, I agree.
We have 1 guy off, 2 guys off.
Does everybody hear that? Paul likes to find the borderline cases. Here's another example of why he's so much smarter than I am. I used to see borderline cases and say, I don't need to look at this. It doesn't matter either way if I'm right or wrong. Forget it. I would not even pay attention to a borderline case. Then I learned that if you know the borderline case, if it's a little better, you double. If it's a little worse, you don't. If it's a little better, you take. A little worse, you drop. The borderline cases are key. For 10 years, I ignored those. Now I'm concentrating mostly on borderline cases.
Yeah, it's the nature of reference positions, is to understand the borderline.
It's because you're so much older than me that you're wiser. That's why.
Sorry, so what does ITA stand for again?
Immediate turnaround. I mean,
Immediate turn.
It's the same as a market gainer.
They call it market gainer, I call it immediate.
On the
turnaround.
next roll, does he have something that where he can take the
Next
cube?
turn.
On the next turn.
Yeah. Does he have
Could he
things
take
like
the cube?
the cube, or worse, where he becomes a favorite, or worse yet? Yeah, I mean, you know, or where he's an easy take. You have to differentiate between easy takes and tough takes, or he actually becomes a favorite. There are different kinds of market, you know, ITA, and those are actually very important too if you're doing calculations. If he has, basically, if he has a marginal take next roll, that doesn't hurt you so much because you still have a pretty efficient cube. It's still worth almost a cube. On the other hand, if he gets to an easy take, that's cost you, or worse yet, if he was a favorite, that's cost you a lot more. So you have to differentiate the kinds of ITA, the kinds of, you know, things where you can't go.
All right, let me translate that to English for those of you who may not have followed. Even if he can take on the next roll, if it's a bear take, then that's another reason to play on for the gammon. But if he can take on the next roll and you're clobbered and he maybe wins the game and you really get killed, then you're probably not too good to double. You can't take that risk of that happening. So it's the level of what could happen on the next roll. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. All right, here we got another position. It is red on roll. It's a match, 11 away, 11 away. The cube is in the center. Should you double or should you play on for the gammon? Anybody? Thoughts?
Play on.
Play on, Leslie?
Double.
Double? You said double? What's your name?
Mark.
Mark? We got Mark and Leslie. We got a play on. And Leslie, you said
I said to play on.
to play on. Do we have anybody that thinks it's too good?
It's not too good.
Not too good? Everybody?
But everybody should be calculating the numbers that leave shots.
Yeah, there's no number,
I
what
mean,
numbers
you
leave
should-
shots?
You should do the dirty work, you know, because if there are two numbers, you know, that leave a shot, you know.
What leaves a shot next roll? What could really hurt you on the next roll? If you're not sure, and I'm going to save some time because it's a lecture, this is one of the things we love about Extreme Gammon. Go to Analyze, Dice Distribution, and we can see every roll that red can possibly roll. And his worst roll, you can't read it on the screen, is a 6-4, and even that you're in really good shape. Let's see, and all the rest of the rolls you're in pretty good shape. These are the red ones are your lower half equity, and these are your upper half equity. But again, you're still over 70% with your worst roll, which is a 6-4, which leaves an indirect shot.
The six numbers, yeah.
And that's the most, and that's your worst roll. So with almost no bad rolls, let me show you. And even if you roll one of those one of the 7 bad rolls, he's got to roll a joker to come in and hit you in an indirect. But it's still a pass. It's still a double pass.
Right.
And Leslie got it right.
Um,
So I got this one wrong. I went through that explanation to show you. I missed this one over here.
A couple of comments here. Number one, if a bad sequence occurs, it's horrible for you because you get
If you get,
back
yeah.
behind the 5 prime. And Bill Roberti, in discussing these kind of positions, brought up an interesting point. He said,
Are you allowed to say Bill Roberti with Paul Magriel in the room?
I hope so.
Okay, okay, all right.
He said in this kind of a position where you're sort of bringing home your men from the outfield and you have, for every open point in your board, he says you can assume you're going to leave probably 117 to 1 shot. So you got 3 open points, you're going to leave about 6 indirect shots on average. And that gets hit, 15% of the time there. And so that plus the fact that the advanced sequences are so bad for you.
I mean,
is
another thing that happens here in reality is, okay, you play on that many ITAs, but what happens very often, you're forced to cash so many times. I mean, you don't make a point, and he comes in, you really don't have any play on anymore.
Right, yeah.
So you get the, much less play on thing I think because you're being forced to cash.
Yeah.
It's good and it's bad. It's good that you have the ability to
Unless
cash.
you roll a 6-1 or a 2-1 on the next roll and he dances or doesn't come in, you're probably cashing. So that's most of the
Yeah, I mean, when
time,
he
you're
comes
not
in,
gonna
you
play
don't
on
have to.
anyway, so
Yeah.
why take a chance on the indirect now when you're gonna lose when he hits the indirect? Okay. Everybody got that? Okay. So don't play like me, play like John and Paul.
Does Mark get a prize on that one?
Who? No, I've only got a couple prizes left, I'm saving them for something special. Somebody smarter. Okay. Again, are you too good or not? Red's on roll, 11 away, cube in the center.
Too good. Too good.
Does everybody see why this is a pass? A 1-3 back game with lousy timing?
Yeah.
Any back game with lousy timing is probably a pass. It's very hard, except in some scores, to be a take. So we know right away this is a pass. Are you too good, or should you cash? I'm hearing too good from most, right?
Too good.
What do you
What do you have to lose by rolling?
What do you got to lose by rolling? What are your bad numbers?
6-4, you got a
6-5.
2-point maybe, but.
5-5.
Score's not that bad.
And,
Score's pretty good.
double high beats,
Way too good to double, and I love what I heard from the audience. You either knew this stuff or you're listening. What have you got to lose? What's bad? There's very few bad rolls. John said 5-5. It's hard to find many rolls that are going to hurt you, and even if they hurt you, he has to perform.
5-5 seems just three numbers.
Well, that's not
I
terrible.
mean, 5-5 followed by three numbers is 1%, and the 6-4, the slot for 2 points, but the hit certainly doesn't win for him, and you might be able to very well double him out from the board. So these are the ITA is very, very small here.
Now, I'm going to leave you with, not leave you, I'm going to add one point that I don't know if I emphasized enough before. If you're on the fence, you think you might be too good and you're not sure, double. Always double. Why? Number one, you might be wrong and it might be a double. Number two, he might take.
Yeah, that's a very important
You may
psychological thing.
And number
If you find
three,
somebody who might take,
right.
then it's always
Come to my chouette, you'll see takes. All
And
you
you'll be
do, play with
surprised
Carter
to
every day, you'll
people
see
playing
takes.
duets, they'll take all sorts of things,
I'm not dissing Carter's game, I'm using his name because, as you all know, he just won the biggest tournament in the world, and Carter's a great player, but he is famous for taking deep because he's got lots of guts, and he loves to play those games, and he often turns them around. So I don't want to make fun of him, and I don't want to pick on him because he'll kill me if I do, because he's bigger than I am, but also I love the guy, and he does a great game, but he does take deep, and so do many. And I've taken cubes that were too good to double too. I did it against Mochi in an exhibition match one time. He was too good to double, and I thought, hey, this is Mochi. I got to take. I got to gamble here. And it was a horrible take. So we all do that. So if you're not sure, double. And of course, the third thing that can happen is you even if you're too good to double and he takes, at least you got your points. You cashed. I mean, it's money in the bank. So that's another reason to cash it. Because if you're not quite good enough to see that you're too good, maybe your checker play isn't that good either. Maybe you're better off dropping cashing because you might screw up the next play.
But then you just kind of learn to figure out ITA, and then think about maybe future ITAs and compare that to, I call them my book, UG, Ultimate Gamuts,
Ultimate games.
Yeah, these are my non-existent book.
Okay, we got a couple more. This is a very, very well-known position with a double 5 blitz. The score is 11 away, and I can tell you if you've studied backgammon at all that this is a pass. Is it too good?
No.
No. You say it's a double. Does anybody think it's too good? Yes. You think it's too good? You just won a book.
Oh my God.
Backgammon for losers because you got it wrong.
Oh.
Okay, let me tell you how you figure these things out. Not that it's exact, but what you do when you double, and you typically think about the good sequences that can be big autos. When you're playing for gammon, you concentrate on your bad sequences, where you get to what he calls market gainers. And you gotta, for example, in a position like this, I would think, for example, I mean, I don't roll a big number to make a point, okay? And if he brings 2 men in, now obviously I screwed up, what happened, but, I mean, a lot of positions where there's two men on the board, you have a 4 or 5 point board, if he brings one guy in, can you cash or not? You know, and that's, you have to train yourself to ask the right question, which is you train yourself to ask yourself, look at a typical bad sequence, okay, and see what the cube action is there. If it's like an easy take, that's bad for you. If it's only a borderline take that's still fast, that's not bad for you in terms of playing. But that's what you got to focus on when you're considering it's too good. When you consider doubling normally, you focus on your good variations. That will miss your market. But here, in playing on Backgammon, you should think about your bad variations.
Blake, you had a question?
Yeah, last year in Northern Cyprus in your boot camp, why I would double is you don't have enough men in the zone. You don't have enough men for a closeout.
Very good. By men in the zone, John, you want to explain what men in the zone
Yeah,
means?
that refers to how many checkers you have either in your inner board or bearing on your inner board. So here you have 8. And generally, if you have 10, that's when the blitz can really succeed.
Oh, yeah, very nice.
Well, Matt Cohn-Geyer and I and Perry started to write a book because we weren't happy with the current books. I'm sorry, Paul, that nobody had written a really good book on blitzing. And we finished the chapter on blitzing. We stopped the book because Matt moved away and started playing all over the world. We got busy with the Backgammon Learning Center, but we found out that you have to have 9 before you can even think about blitzing. And as John said, 10 is a much better blitz, or 11 in the zone. So Blake's point is exactly right. The major reason you think you have a good game here is to blitz, and you don't have a good blitz because you don't have enough checkers in the zone. That's why you cash.
Yeah, I mean, even if you roll like 3-1 or 4-2 and blue comes in with a checker, you don't have
I
any
mean,
direct
it
ways to have it.
happens, you know, it's very hard before you can.
And also, you have some other bad sequence, like Paul was saying, if you roll an immediate 5-5, that's not really very good. It's good for the race, but it doesn't bring any extra builders. And also, if you just roll some average number, and he's got 3 joker doubles that he can enter.
And actually, that's very more important than you realize. If you took away the other guy's jokers in these positions, a lot of things would be played on side. Definitely not. Because if you just think about it, if he has 3 jokers and he has 3 jokers, you know, that's a 12th of the time, and he has that 4 or 5 rolls.
Yeah.
He's a decent chance, 40% chance to come in with a joker. Not quite
And by the joker,
surprised and dismayed and tell him he's a luck box. But if 40% of the time he's going to come in with a joker, and those who really turn the game around a lot of times, that you got to be, you know.
That's the point. Because we're going to be on YouTube, I want to explain for those that aren't as smart as many of the people in this room. A joker, we call it a joker, which is an extremely huge, great equity roll for the other player, where he not only is a good game, but he might even be winning. If he rolled double 4s or double 5s or a good number, he might come in and hit. He might actually be winning the game because it's such a great roll. Now, I changed this position to show how smart Blake is, because Blake is another one of those guys that's a lot smarter than he looks. He's really smart. When you take 2 more checkers and put it in the zone here, and you do have a good blitz, and it's too good to double. So Blake got it right.
For a wasp, I'm smart.
For a wasp, yeah, you're very smart. Right, and you're also very nice for a New Yorker. I mean that as a compliment.
I mean, actually, the interesting thing about the zone is they don't have to all be really nice builders like that. You can have 10 men in the zone by having 4 men in the 6 points and 2 men in the 8 points. Those are still considered in the zone, and you'll be surprised the difference, because even though you may not have immediately more numbers, you got a lot of follow through and a lot, I mean, so the men in the zone don't have to be as pretty as you put it.
Right, I put these 2 together, and it's still too good to double.
Yeah.
Because they're still in the zone.
Yeah.
All right, good point, Blake. Let's go on. We got a couple more. This is red on roll, cube action. Again, we're talking about a money game in this position. Should red cash, and by the way, blue would drop, or does he play on for the gammon?
Redouble huge pass.
Redouble huge pass, so you don't play on for the gammon, okay?
I play on.
Leslie plays on.
Count the number of ways you do shots.
Any other thoughts?
20,
3 zones.
Yeah, 20
Play on?
20 numbers. 20 numbers.
Paul, do it louder so we can hear it on
Well,
it.
you gotta learn to get down and dirty in these. Count the number of ways you do shots, and if you're not used to counting, practice. But
Yeah, I call it categories. Put your rolls into various categories. Okay, you have 9 jokers that clear, and you win a gammon on all 9 of those.
Yeah.
Okay. You have 20 numbers that leave a double shot, and you'll either be on the 6 or the 5 one, depending on how you play certain numbers like 6 1, 5 1, 4 1. So he'll hit about 60% of those. Right? 60% of 20 is 12. Okay. Then you have the remaining 7 numbers are neutral numbers, in that they don't clear the 6 point and they don't leave a shot. 3 3 3 2 2 2 2 1 1 1. Okay. Now the nice thing about some of those is you're taking off extra checkers. Okay, so you're going to play around, you leave a shot, you'll have more checkers more on. So when you think about those categories there, the 9 jokers, that's 9 gammons right there. Okay. The 20 numbers that leave a shot, let's just assume you win a gammon and blue fails to hit. Say he hits 60%, so that means that's 8 more gammons right there, so that's 17. And then let's say of the times when you do get hit, maybe you win 1 more gammon when you get real lucky. You hit over the 3 and then roll boxes or something. So you're like 18 gammons, okay?
Half the time.
That's half the time right there. And so how often does blue hit? Okay, so he hits 20, he hits about 60% of that is 12. Okay, now the other 7 eventually will break down to one of those 2 categories. Either he'll clear with one of his 9 good numbers, or he'll leave a double shot. So that's going to be about 5 of those 7. You'll leave another double shot. So altogether, you'll leave a double shot about 25 out of 36 times, and blue will hit about 60% of those, which is about 15. He's not going to win all those then. Okay? So therefore, now the other thing is when blue does hit, it's pretty bad for him. You'll have probably 4 or 5 checkers off, and blue has a 5 prime, and it's fairly close to turning it into a 6 prime. So that sort of is a good reason to think about caching. But anyway, it's actually too
good. So John came up with about half the time you win gammons. It took him, you all saw it, less than 60 seconds. Why could he do this in 60 seconds? Because he spent hours on this at home before we got here today, over the years.
Over the years.
Over the years. He spent hours now in this position. I mean, learning how to do that calculation. And I'm saying it doesn't take hours. It's much easier than that. Spend a half hour a week for the next 2 months, and you will be able to do this kind of calculation pretty quick. Not as good as John, but pretty quick. Quick enough to get it right over the board.
So, excuse me, did you say this
Okay, I mean,
this is
besides that, another thing I mentioned earlier is that you own the cube, and after you get hit, you get to play the game to the end.
Right.
So this, I'd be interested to see, this is too good now, the cube's in the middle, and gammons count. Is it still too good? Because now, after you get hit, he has efficient doubles.
Yeah.
Those times you get hit, which is a lot.
You're right. In the cube is in the middle, you do double,
See,
because he has access to the
This
cube.
is very interesting,
Well,
because
this
the
is
other
funny
top.
though.
Oh, I'm sorry, let's take off
Make a
Jacoby.
little- Yeah, take off the Jacoby.
Take off Jacoby, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because obviously, I mean, I don't know, but
You're right, though. It's still now a 10% error, not to
you see the
double.
big difference in the middle cube and the other cube here?
Wow.
Yeah, no, and this is very typical. People always underestimate these tail variations.
Right.
When you own the cube, you're entitled to play the game to the end.
Now I'm glad you came.
But
That's
I mean,
great,
you can
that's
see
great
the dramatic difference it makes.
And it does.
Blake, you have a question?
How do you play a 6-1?
How does Red play a 6-1?
Yeah.
First of all, how would you play it, before we tell you?
I would take off 2.
You would take off 2, or leave the extra shot?
Again, this is an interesting game. This is going to be cube dependent. It's like,
Let's assume he's got the cube.
Got the cube.
Red's got the cube, right?
yeah.
Okay. How do you play a 6-1? I take the 6 off, Blake. Like that.
I mean, it's 21 numbers or 20 numbers. That's what you should
I mean, what's your problem? You take the 6 off, you idiot. What's the matter with you? Oh, the 1. How do you play the 1?
It's 20 numbers or 21. And if you.
Is it worth a checker? Now, I
On the
had
cube,
this,
it might be, and if you don't own the cube, because even forming off after you closed out.
so yesterday, I gotta tell you the story. Yesterday, I played Neil Kazaros, who's 10 times better than me. I got lucky and beat him. I'm in a position almost exactly like this, where I can take off the third checker or leave one more shot. And I sat there, and I said, gee, I never gave this lesson. Because I really didn't know.
The problem with staying on the six.
What's right, John? What would you do? Put him on the spot.
I think I would take the extra checker off. Six off.
If you own the cube, go down.
If you own the
If you own the cube, yeah.
If
cube
the
in the
cube's
middle, I
then you wanna
would
play
minimize
safer.
shots.
Yeah, you wanna minimize shots.
How
because-
can the cube be in the middle here? It won't be. It's either on your side or his side.
Well, you're playing for the gammon earlier.
You're playing for the gammon, right?
You're
Okay.
playing for the gammon, and
But-
now you roll a.
No, but at this point, you're supposed to cash. We just looked at that. You don't play for the gammon here. You're supposed to cash here. So let's put the cube on
Let's
both,
say okay.
let's put the cube on both sides, and we'll see what's right. You guys
are
are,
play. Go on, and now you roll.
Can't
what
you,
want.
so can't you take a five runoff position in this situation?
The number of people.
okay.
That's
It's
a-
very close, but fewer shots is better. Very close. Let's put the cube on his side.
Number of men off affected.
That's
the
what I was
point.
looking at.
After you get hit, the more checkers you have off, the more likely you are to win after you get hit. That's why there's a trade-off.
And it's a meaty part around, you know.
And it really matters a lot whether you get the fourth checker off or the sixth checker off. That's why sometimes I don't know. That's why we get it wrong sometimes.
No, but isn't there a big deal between the fourth and the fifth?
Well, it depends on the position on the other side and how likely he is to be able to cash and so on. It's not always a big deal between the fourth and the fifth. In this case, obviously, there isn't. Or else you would take the other checker off. So I can't give you a blanket answer, and I don't think anybody can. There's a huge difference between the sixth and the seventh. If you have the 1 and the 2 points, and the 7 and the 8.
More checkers make a difference.
Would it be right to take it?
With more checkers off, it might well be. Let's do it real quick. Let's take, now you got 5 checkers off. Getting the 6th checker off, it might well
He
be.
doesn't even have a redouble right away.
Yeah, let's go back to you holding the cube.
Four checkers off, he maybe doesn't have it immediately.
And now you're right, David, very good question. With more checkers off, now you do leave the extra shot. Because going to 6 to 7 is a big number.
Yeah.
By the way, I'll tell you what that number is. It's about an extra 10% wins if you have one more checker off.
Yeah.
You agree with that? That's the first. That's, everybody caught that? John O'Hagan agrees with me?
You know, I mean, you should know the basic thing, 5 checkers off is like just a borderline take.
Right.
You know, I usually say it's approximately about 6 checkers off is an easy take, and 7 is a monster take, and 8 is pick 'em.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just know these things, then you can know how valuable the extra checker off is.
Right. Okay, let's go on. We got 2 more. This is our bonus question, $50 gift certificate to P40 for the correct answer here. Raise your hand, please. This is a match score, and it's 3 away, 5 away. Red needs 3 points to win the match. Blue needs 5 points to win the match, and red is holding the 2 cube. Now, I can promise you this is a possible recube or not. Are you too good? Not good enough? Is it a take? Is it a pass? What's the proper cube action here?
Too good.
You're saying you're too good, so no double? No double? Too good? Anybody disagree? Dimitri, I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Well, I was at the count, I'm not,
So count.
it'll take a while, I don't want to hold you.
Okay. All right, so everybody says it's too good.
I don't like that formulation too good, not good enough. I was these max scores, they overlap too good, not good enough. I mean, you know.
So would you take or pass if you got the cube?
It could be too good.
Could be too good. Take it. Kettler, you win the prize.
No, that's what happened, so it has sort of a different meaning.
Yeah.
Money and hold too good. But not good enough, actually overlapping.
This overlaps. This is, Paul got it right, Kettler got it right. Dimitri would have if I gave him enough time.
Exactly, Coleman's too good, and it's like.
This can never happen in a money game.
Exactly.
This can never happen at 20 away, 20 away, or 11 away, 11 away. It's strictly because, in this case, first of all, why can it be a take here? Because when you take the cube, and you have the cube at 4, and you're 5 away, you immediately redouble. If you're awake, you redouble. If you're asleep, and that means there's no gammons at all. So the gammons get wiped out, and that's the reason why you would take the cube and redouble. Now, why are you too good, but why would you not give the cube? Number one, you don't want that to happen. You don't want to play for the match here and let him win the match 15% of the time when you can win this match a lot by just playing on and winning the gammon 7% of the time. So that's a major reason that we have to understand gammon value, match equity, and study these things when you're going to be playing a match. I have friends and I have students that play tavla without the cube. I say two things. Number one, you're playing half as good a game as I'm playing. And number two, even if you play with the cube and you just play for money, if you don't play for match, you're still only playing half as good a game. This is what makes backgammon match play, and this is why we're at these tournaments. This is a much, much more intricate, fun game.
I mean, I know, I agree with you totally. But, I mean, I have a way when I think about these positions with a two good, not a lot, is I can't calculate these things exactly, but what I think is a very large percentage of half my wins or gammons, then you have this very often these overlap situations. So I try and guess what percentage of my wins are gammons. That's how I approach these problems. And I can see here a lot of my wins are gammons.
Right.
You know, so then I just know I don't have to worry whether it's too good or not good enough. It's not a double. That's how I approach it. It's a sort of a simple way. I mean, not simple, but you know, you have to realize that a lot of your wins are gammons. Then you don't have to worry whether he's going to take or pass. Actually.
Okay, so
That's
to simplify things, which is what Paul's talking about, if you get into all these numbers and you estimate wins and gammons and take points, you're going to go nuts.
Yeah.
So the best teachers in the world, and I'm looking at two of them, are people who can simplify things by coming up with these kinds of ideas and shortcuts. They understand how to do the numbers, they will do it in practice, they'll look at it all, but if you can come up with a simple conclusion or a rule of thumb, I'm winning so many damn gammons, I'm not going to touch the cube. That's the way Paul does this. He teaches that. That's why he's one of the greatest in the world.
You know, half,
Thank you.
40% of my wins are gammons. I don't have to figure out whether it's a take or a pass or what's going on.
Okay, we're out of time. Again, I want to thank P40, I want to thank Larry Schiller, and most of all, I want to thank Paul and John, and the people, all of you for attending. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the lecture.